Hi everyone, my name is Fatima Hinojosa. I'm a student at Georgetown University and this is my real estate market analysis for the property in Lakeforest Mall. For this presentation, we will first have an introduction of the property. We will review its location and current site conditions, such as zoning, school district, crime rate, and accessibility. This will give us a general idea of the property's characteristics and its environment. Further on, we will review the market analysis for the site, starting with the office market followed by the residential and retail market analysis. In these sections, we will analyze the current and projected supply and demand for each market in the trade area. Finally, we will end the presentation with a short summary of the analysis and some recommendations for the redevelopment of the site. First, we start with the introduction and location of the property. Lakeforest Mall is located in the Montgomery County in the state of Maryland. The city is Gaithersburg. Gaithersburg is approximately 25 miles northwest of downtown Washington, D.C., and it is considered a suburb and a primary city within the Washington Metropolitan Statistical Area. It is the third most populous city in Maryland. It is separated by the Interstate 270. As you can see in the picture, Gaithersburg is divided into east and west, locating Lakeforest Mall in the eastern area of the city. The western side of the city has grown in the past few decades, locating the wealthier neighborhoods and population. Now we're gonna talk about the property and its current site. The Lakeforest Mall is a regional shopping center. It is located in 701 Russell Avenue in the city of Gaithersburg. It sits on 103 acres of land, and it has 1.2 million square feet of retail, with 4 anchor tenants and around 150 stores and a food court. The project history started when it opened on September 1978. After changing ownership a couple of times, on 2000, the Lakeforest Mall was renovated and expanded. And today, we're analyzing the property to find the best use for the redevelopment of the site. Now we're going to look at the site conditions of the property. Regarding the zoning, the land use regulation applied for the Lakeforest Mall property is general commercial. Most of its western adjacent neighborhoods are high to medium density residential, with several apartment complexes and general commercial zoning areas in the eastern side of the property, with big commercial stores such as Costco and Sears Club located at only half a mile from it. Regarding the school district, the trade area is located in the Montgomery County's public school system. According to a report made by Forbes earlier this year, the public school is the largest school system in Maryland and it is the 17th largest in the US. Within only a 15-minute drive from the Lakeforest Mall property, there are more than 7 schools located, including an elementary school and a high school. On the other hand, regarding the crime rate, according to analysis made by the FBI, your chance of becoming a victim of a crime in Gettysburg is only 1 in 70. That is near the average for all cities and towns of all sizes in America. Finally, concluding with the site conditions, one of the mainly advantages of the site, in my opinion, is the accessibility and traffic. The property is located close to major transit accesses and public transportation. There are 2 MARC stations in a 2-mile radius, and the Shady Grove metro station only around 3.5 miles away, which connects the city with DC. There are a few examples of transportation options for office workers. This translates into shorter commutes. In addition, for those commuting to work by car, the I-270 and the Route 355 are only minutes away. Once at work, regarding coffee breaks and lunchtime, office workers would have access to local coffee house, restaurants, and bars within less than a mile walk. Finally, in terms of traffic around the location, the road with the highest traffic volume around the property is Montgomery Village Avenue, and the rest of the adjacent roads are considered low traffic roads. On road visibility, unfortunately, trees and vegetation on the way obstruct the view from the I-270 to the current building located in the property. The same problem is observed from closer roads. But on the other hand, because the property currently has 6 road entrances from adjacent roads, it is likely to benefit with easy delivery options and loading zones. Now we start with the market analysis. First, we will analyze the office market. The factors that had the greatest influence on determining the primary market for this case study in the office market were driving distance and a 3-mile radius. This in order to cover the competition, demographics, employment, and other opportunities and alternatives our future direct clients will have within the primary submarket. For the secondary market analysis delineation, the driving time and mile radius was expanded, adding some submarkets that for some reason could have an interest in the property. Some natural boundaries for this secondary market included the Potomac River and the southwestern area of the property and the suburbs of Clarksburg, Maryland. This radius enlargement sets the boundary for the secondary market, which are those customers, potential renters for office or residential space, etc., that could go to your property but will have some similar options on the way, making it harder for you to attract them. In order to target and get those customers farther away, the developer has to look for differentiation options. This can be done, for example, by getting an organic known anchor such as Whole Foods as an anchor store or adding a feature to the development that draws people in, like a pool in a residential development or other not common amenities. Now we're going to take a look to the current market conditions of the office market. Because the area is very well connected through public transport, metro, and rail stations, the market trade area extends further away from Gaithersburg, and it is important to analyze the Montgomery County office market. According to CBRE, Montgomery County remained the engine of growth for the market, registering a positive absorption rate in 2018. Most of the square feet registered under construction are concentrated in downtown Bethesda, and the county has a vacancy rate of 14%. On the other hand, the city of Gaithersburg did not register any square feet under construction. It has a lower vacancy rate of only 9.70%, and the total inventory in the office market accounted mainly in Class A square feet, followed by Class B and then Class C office space. So now that we have reviewed the current market conditions and the trade area for the office market analysis, we will gonna talk about the projected job growth and the office demand. So the city of Gaithersburg has a forecast of around 20,000 new jobs from 2015 to 2045. This represents a job growth of 41.5%. Taking into account the job growth projected for the next years, and assuming 19,300 new jobs in 30 years is approximately around 600 new jobs per year, we can say that there is a demand for 120,000 square feet of office space. This, assuming in addition that an average of 200 square feet are needed per employee and that there is no current office supply and buildings under construction. Now, with all this information, let's assume as well that some of the demand of this new demand will be absorbed by the currently vacant spaces and the new construction that is projected in downtown Bethesda area. With all of this information, it is safe to say that Lakeforest Mall property could capture the rest of the office demand projected. This is around no more than 100 square feet of office space. Here are some conclusions after reviewing the office market of the area. From a supply perspective, there has been no construction for several years around the property, which has contributed in a decline in the vacancy rates for the past years. However, the new office developments in Bethesda might absorb some of the demand projected with the job growth. In addition, out of all the building classes, The information reveals that Class A office buildings have the lowest vacancy rates. It is important to keep in mind that with the new office space trends, tenants are demanding high quality buildings with open spaces and amenities, and it looks like there are a few options in the market to choose from. So there is a positive job growth projected for the upcoming years that could justify the development of office building in the area. For a small property could capture around 100,000 square feet of office demand. Listening to the trends and tenants' demands would be crucial for the new developments in the area. The site could target those tenants that are looking for a space at a lower price point in the Montgomery County. Now that we have analyzed the office market, we're going to move to the residential market analysis. On the demographics, the Montgomery County is the most populated county in Maryland. It has an estimated population of around 1 million, and its median age is 39 years. It has a median income of around $100,000, making it one of the wealthiest counties in the United States. Gettysburg has an estimated population of around 66,000 people and has a median age of around 35 years. The majority of the people within the Lakeforest small trade area are married, and 31% of the trade area households have an annual income of at least $100,000. Now, looking into the household units and vacancy rates of the residential market analysis, there are approximately 25,620 housing units. Out of these units, 48% are rental units with a rather high median monthly gross rent of $1,600. The other 52% of the housing units belong to homeowners. The median property value in Gettysburg is around $370,000. And the monthly owner cost as a percentage of the household income is 20%. On vacancy rates, Gettysburg has a low housing unit vacancy rate recorded in 2018 of less than 5%. For the comparable rental apartment analysis, it shows that there are 10 comparable rental buildings in the primary trade area, adding approximately a total of 3,000 units. Only 20% of the apartment units analyzed in the area have studio units for rent. There is an average overall vacancy rate of 3.44%. 80% of the analyzed apartment buildings are categorized as Class A. Only 3 of the apartment buildings offer a playground as a common area amenity. Other common amenities include parking lots, garage, pool, tennis courts, and security. 2 out of the 10 properties have LEED certification. And finally, regarding rental rates, studio units have the highest rental rates per square foot of $2.6, and the average rental rate of one bedroom is $1.62. For 2 bedroom is $1.50, and for 3 bedroom units is $1.52. On the other hand, regarding the for sale apartment units in the primary trade area, there are 10 comparable buildings taken into account for this analysis. There is little or no new construction in the past years, and 80% of the analyzed units are in low-rise buildings. After reviewing the market conditions from the residential point of view, we can conclude the following. The high occupancy rates above 95% suggest that there is demand for residential units in the primary market area. There are no new developments under construction in the area. We can conclude that the location of the site is ideal for the residential market since it would provide the multifamily residents with good quality schools, several transportation options, and immediate access to major roads. Finally, we would recommend the developers to include, in addition of the standard amenities, sustainable quality features to their buildings. Now we're going to take a look into the retail market analysis. Retail developments have a significant impact on the everyday life. They not only provide good and services, but also give service to the people who live, work, and visit the area in a regular basis. For this retail market analysis, first we have to identify a primary trade area from which more than half of the percentage and sales will be drawn. In retail, 60 to 80% of sales may come from shoppers who live in the primary market area. On the other hand, the secondary trade area might account for another 20 to 30%. There is no single rule of thumb for defining the size or shape of the trade area. For this retail analysis, we will reduce the radius previously mentioned to a 3-mile radius for primary trade area and 5-mile radius for the secondary market. Due to the ease of navigation in this area, we will include the city of Rockville and Germantown in the second trade area within the 5-mile radius, since it has the ability to attract customers from within the bounds of this submarket. As you can see in this data, because its location along the I-270 corridor and low price at a median value of around 350,000, the city of Gaithersburg submarket is an attractive location for middle-income households. The median annual income of Gaithersburg is around 80,000, which is more than the median annual income in the United States. And finally, the household size in this city is around 2.7 people per household. Now that we have analyzed the household unemployment in the primary trade area, we will take a look to the demand analysis. From the demand perspective, the resident-generated retail demand within the primary trade area is divided between 3 types of retail sectors. The first is the neighborhood goods and services, NGNS. The second one is the food and beverages, which is called F&B. And finally, the general merchandise, apparel, furniture, and others, which is commonly known as GAFO. First, we're going to take a look into the NGNS sector. These are establishments that depend upon the patronage of local residents and workers and service daily and weekly needs. Some examples of this type of retail are grocery stores, drugstore, florists, bakeries, specialty food stores, in general, any retail that you go in your daily basis. This is why NGNS retailers rely on spending from a nearby resident, students, and employees, generally located within a 1-mile radius. NGNS are convenient based. It must be close with an easy access and parking. Now we're going to take a look into the food and beverages retail sector. These type of establishments serve food and alcohol consumed on premises or for takeout. Some examples for this type of retails are sit-down restaurants, cafe, bars, in general quick bite establishments and similar. These establishments can attract customers from a larger trade area than the NGNS retailers, especially when they are all clustered together. As you can see in the table below, the total F&B expenditures is around 6.65% of the total consumer expenditures of the area. Continuing with the retail market analysis on the demand side, we're going to take a look into the general merchandise, apparel, furniture, and other retail type. This is commonly known as GAFO. This type of establishment sells specialty merchandise that is actively sought by customers. For example, clothing stores, furniture store, bookstores, and others. Once successful, GAFO stores attract customers from long distances, such as shopping centers, outlet mall, etc. If you take a look into the table below, you can see that out of the total consumer expenditures in 2015, the total GAFO expenditures take up to an 18%, which is really high compared to the F&B and the NGNS. With a short summary of all the expenditures divided per retail type, NGNS, F&B, and GAFO, We can now continue with the capture rate. The capture rate for each category was the result of the total of each category divided by the total consumer expenditures. In order to measure the retail demand, analysis has to be calculated for each submarket's ability to attract the existing and projected expenditure by residents, workforce, and visitors to the area, who regularly would spend on local establishments. The data used for this analysis was taken from site-wise reports. This should be then multiplied by a capture rate to estimate the total capture expenditures. Now that we have the capture rates and the estimated sales per square feet, taking an average of $400 and $300 per square feet, we can get to the total amount of supportable retail space for each category. In order to get this number, we calculated as follows. First, we multiply the capture rate times the aggregate expenditures. That number is divided by the estimated sale per square feet, and this will give us the total amount of supportable space in square feet. As you can see, in the demand within the primary trade area from 2015 and 2016, we can easily say that the summary retail demand supports around 300,000 square feet. Continuing with the same analysis on the demand side within the primary trade area on 2020, we can justify a total amount of supportable retail space of around 500,000. Now that we have analyzed the demand side, we're going to go to the supply analysis of the retail market. The highest percentage of the retail within the Gaithersburg submarket is GAFO with 46%. According to the Montgomery County Retail Study, the most common shopping centers types are hybrid centers, which typically contain both neighborhood goods and services and GAFO retailers, and neighborhood centers. This report also said that most of the Montgomery County submarkets are undersupplied in the retail area, but the Gaithersburg submarket. They recommended that these submarkets should reposition a portion of its supply to other street activity uses, such as medical offices, daycares, and office space that opens onto the street. In addition of the current retail supply in the area, according to the Montgomery County planning, the projected retail space is of around 200,000 square feet. All of the cluster of developments shown on the table on the right are within a 3 to 5 mile radius of the site. Now that we have reviewed the retail market, we can get to some conclusions. There is a total amount of supportable retail space of around 500,000 square feet for 2020. There are approximately 200,000 square feet that are already approved and on project for these upcoming years. So, taking into account the approved projects and the total amount of supportable retail space, we can recommend for this project a total retail space of 366,000 square feet. The changes in consumer habits and the growth of online shopping is changing the brick and mortar retail industry. Retail stores and developers have to be flexible and adapt in their planning to the constant changes in the trends in the retail industry. As e-commerce grows, walkability, green areas, and placemaking are important ingredients for mixed uses and retail environments in order to give value to the in-store experience. That is why adding these elements to the redevelopment of the Lakeforest Mall with a mix of F&B and NG&S retail is recommended. The location and connectivity to major arteries of the site can benefit immensely the retail section of the project. NG&S retail such as pharmacy, barbershops, and similar should be emphasized in this mixed-use project. Now that we have reviewed and analyzed the office, retail, and residential market, we will see the impact of mixing uses on the same site. For example, on the pro sides, in densely development neighborhoods, combining apartment or condominiums with retailing and entertainment can create a 24-hour neighborhoods that are safer for residents and more inviting for tourists and business visitors. Creating a vibrant space with careful positioning of key components around a central public space or open air shopping areas and a great amount of green areas can provide a good ambience for the residents. But on the other hand, not everything is pretty and optimistic. Developers have to take into account that building with multiple uses costs more than to contracts, as each use may need a separate lobby or elevator, etc. In addition, property managers will have a more complex administration, since managing a residential space is not the same than a retail one. That is why mixed-use developments are risk-intensive and complicated real estate projects to implement, but they can be highly desirable and worthwhile for developers, residents, and the community as a whole. So, now that we have analyzed in detail the office market, the residential market, and the retail market for this area, we can get to some conclusions and recommendations for the redevelopment of the property in Lakeforest Mall. We can safely say that we recommend a mixed-use development for the property site with a residential unit as main use for the development, followed by retail space on the lower levels and some office space use. For this project, developers can capitalize on the synergy among complementary uses and create an overall cumulative market attraction that exceeds what the individual project would generate independently. This project could greatly benefit from a mixed-use development's vitality. All buildings and outdoor spaces should be interconnected by pedestrian links with enough green common areas to give that sense of community to the development. Likewise, the inclusion of high-end amenities and sustainable materials in the project are recommended. Now more than ever, consumers are paying attention to these details when making an important purchase or decision. The analysis recommends the following mixed-use development mix. We would start with residential space as main use for the development, with around 300 units. Because of the low supply in studios in the area, it is recommended to add this type of unit to the development, followed by one-bedroom apartments, two-bedroom apartments, this should be the main type of units, and ending with three-bedroom units. Because of the low median age of the area, amenities such as playgrounds and tennis courts are recommended in the complex. Now we're going to follow with the retail space for the development. The trade area can absorb up to 366,000 square feet. NG&S tenants that will give service to the residential units and trade area are recommended. Medium to high-end retail stores are advised, with a well-known anchor tenant such as Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's. The addition of no more than 100,000 square feet of office space is suggested on the development project to give the vibrant feel of a mixed-use development. Co-working spaces such as a WeWork and other options are a great type for this mixed-use development. Thank you very much for taking the time to review this presentation with me. I hope you enjoyed it and learned from it. Bye-bye.